Okay. Good afternoon, Merck employees, Federal Credit Union members. Welcome to our webinar. We are excited. We have a webinar from Careful today, how to stay safe online. As you know, the credit union launched Careful earlier this year. It's a fraud prevention service. We offer it complimentary to our members. I have to tell you, we have great uptick. We just got the latest numbers today, and we have a lot of members that have signed up for Careful. If you have not, I encourage you to look at it. Basically, it's a tool to monitor your accounts. You could choose what accounts you want to have monitored. It also provides great education about the frauds that are going on today. And unfortunately, we still see many at the credit union. So really encourage everybody to get engaged with Careful. But one of our goals this year is to educate members about the various things that are going on online, how to keep yourself safe. So we have with us today Cameron Huddleston from Careful. She is going to walk us through how to stay safe online. So Cameron, welcome. You have the floor, and you have our great credit union members on with you.
All right. Thanks, Paul. Thanks to all of you for joining today. Hopefully you'll learn something valuable, and I will tell you, some of you might know some of these things already, but I really want to cover all the bases for people who perhaps aren't as aware of some of these tactics that scammers and thieves use, and perhaps aren't aware of all the tactics that you can use to stay safe. And so if I'm saying something as you know, stick with me, because hopefully you're going to learn something new too. I want to start out by sharing with you how widespread online fraud is. Americans lose more than $12.5 billion annually to cybercrime, and this is according to the FBI. Now, this figure likely underestimates the true amount of how much is lost to online fraud and scams, because most fraud goes unreported. In fact, I was just talking with a woman yesterday whose aunt lost money to a scam, but never reported it and was afraid to even tell anyone close to her about it because she was embarrassed. And so really 12.5 billion, which is a lot of money, is not a true estimate of how much people are losing to online fraud and scams. And we're going to focus today on online fraud and online safety, although phone calls are still the most common way that scammers contact victims. There are so many different ways that you can potentially lose money or put your personal information at risk when you're online. And so let's go through those ways that your information can be at risk or your money can be at risk when you're online. Number one, phishing emails. Email is the most common way that scammers make contact with potential victims, in addition to phone calls, as I mentioned. Phishing emails are typically going to appear to come from a business that you know, a government agency, other well-known organizations. They can even come from people you know if their accounts are hacked. Now, a telltale sign of a phishing email, an email that is fake. This email is going to include an urgent call to action with a prompt to click a link to a site that will likely steal your personal information or your money, or that email is going to include a download file that the scammer wants you to click on. And if you download it, it can install spyware, viruses on your computer, on your device. So like, here's an example here. If you kind of look at it closely, it looks like it might be coming from Microsoft Outlook. There's that urgent call to action. You have some blocked incoming mails due to a maintenance problem. And we're going to talk more as we go through this about ways to spot those phishing emails, but this is just an example here. Data breaches, another big way that thieves can get your information online. This happens when a hacker gains access to a company's database, and those databases can include personal and account information of customers. There were more than 3,000 data breaches last year. It can take companies months to alert consumers about breaches. This is an actual letter that you're seeing here that my daughter received from Change Healthcare. Change Healthcare, in case you remember, it was a victim of a huge data breach. We're talking like millions of customers whose information was compromised. This happened in February of 2024. My daughter didn't get this notice until September 30th of 2024. I didn't get a notice from Change Healthcare until 2025. So it can take months sometimes before the company is going to let you know about these data breaches. And during that time, thieves can do a lot of damage with the information that they gain access to. And they're going to use that information, your personal information. They can use it to steal your identity. They can use it to access your accounts. They might sell it to other thieves on the dark web, and the dark web is like the back room of the internet where shady deals happen, and hackers and thieves will sell personal information that's been stolen through data breaches. It's not a place where you and I are going to be frequenting, but this is where, nefarious people are buying and selling information that they can use to steal people's personal information and their identities and their money. Tech support scams. This is another very common way that your information can be at risk when you are online. These scams start with usually a pop-up message that appears on your computer claiming that there's a virus or some sort of suspicious activity. And usually these pop-up messages will include a number for tech support. They want you to call a technician who is going to likely ask for remote access to your computer to fix this problem. Now, with remote access, the scammer can get into your email, they can get into any accounts that you've saved passwords, and they can do a lot of damage. Online shopping scams are also very common. Scammers will post ads online for deeply discounted goods. You click on those ads, they're going to likely take you to a fake retail site, or it might be a replica of an actual retailer site. For example, you might think that you're on the Nike factory outlet store, or you might think that you are on Amazon. If you click on that online ad, or if you've gone to Google and you type in a search, for deals on sneakers, okay? And so up pops a sponsored result. Scammers use those sponsored results to create links to fake sites that are going to steal your money, steal your information. Another way that scammers take advantage of shoppers online, they pose as buyers and sellers on online marketplaces such as Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist. The way these scams typically work, they might be selling an item at a really great price. It's too good to resist. And so then you're engaging with that seller, and they're asking you to make some sort of upfront payment, or maybe even pay with an unusual form of payment, like a wire transfer, or they want you to use a payment app such as Zelle or Venmo. You make a payment, and guess what? You never get the item, or they might send you something that is in no way what you thought you were buying. It's an inferior product or not even close to what the item was advertised. Scammers will also pose as buyers. And so if you're selling on Facebook Marketplace, they might offer to buy the product that you're selling, the item that you're selling. Maybe you're selling an old couch. Like, yeah, I'll buy it. Listen, I'm going to send you more than what you're asking for. And if you can you just cut me a check for the difference? And then the payment that they sent you, there's actually, they might have sent you a check or something like that. And if they sent you a check for larger than the amount, the check bounces, and you've already sent them a check back for that amount that they've asked for in addition to what they're paying. And so then you end out of money. So this is one way that scammers can take advantage of you when you're shopping online. Scammers will also use artificial intelligence to create images or videos of celebrities promoting products that are fake. For example, there was this whole scam with weight loss gummies, and they were using images of Oprah Winfrey to promote these fake weight loss gummies. And so they use the celebrities to gain trust, saying, well, if this celebrity is endorsing this product, surely it must be good. You click on the ad, you click on the post on social media. The next thing you know, you're paying for a product that you never receive, or you get a product that doesn't work. Speaking of social media, lots of different scams that occur on social media sites. Scammers will post fake giveaways. They will solicit charitable donations anytime there's some sort of natural disaster. They might offer invitations for you to join their investment club. They might share links to fake live streams for funerals and other events. This is happening. What they will do is look at obituaries, and they will create a Facebook page for the person in memory of the person who has passed away, and they will provide links. You can watch the funeral service of John Doe by clicking on this link. You click on the link, and then you're asked to make a payment to watch a live stream of a funeral service. This is a scam. Scammers will also create fake profiles on social media sites using stolen photos or AI-generated photos to strike up romances and ask for money. These are known as romance scams. Scammers will also send messages, direct messages to you on social media platforms that appear to come from Facebook or Instagram with warnings that your account is compromised, and there'll be a link to provide or to reset your login credentials. They do this once you provide your login credentials to your Facebook account, your Instagram account, your LinkedIn account, then they can take over the account and use it to do all sorts of bad things, reaching out to your contacts and trying to solicit those donations if there's been a disaster, sending, invitations to participate in an investment club. It looks like it's coming from you, and your friends are getting a notice, hey, join my investment club. Little do they know that a scammer has taken over your account. And so these are all the various ways that you can be at risk from scammers on social media. So clearly, most of us, if not all of us, are online, and we're probably online every single day. We're shopping online, we're checking our email, we're on social media sites. And so it doesn't make sense for us to avoid the internet altogether because we're so used to interacting online. What it means is that we need to take precautions to stay safe. I mean, just like you put on your seatbelt when you get in to drive your car and you have auto insurance to protect you in case there's an accident, there are things that you can do to minimize your risk of exposure when you are online. There are things you should be doing to monitor for fraud in case your information is compromised. And there's steps that you can take to minimize the damage if you do become a victim. The first thing that you want to do to minimize your risk is make sure that you are safe in general online. You want to make sure that you keep your antivirus software updated on your computer. Now, if you have a new computer, it likely came with antivirus software already installed. What you want to do though is go to your settings. I've got a screenshot here. It says Windows Security. This is from my own computer. Okay, you can go to your settings and make sure that there aren't any threats that have been detected, no actions needed for your account protection, that your firewall and network protection is in good working order. If you have any questions about whether you have the latest antivirus software and you're not a tech savvy person, I encourage you to either call the manufacturer of your computer, or you can go to a company like Best Buy and get one of their technicians there, their Geek Squad technicians, to help you make sure that everything is updated on your computer or that you have the latest software that you need. You also want to make sure that you are running operating system updates on your phone. Again, you can see here, there's a screenshot. This is from my phone. Like when you go into your settings on your phone, I have it turned on for automatic updates. You want to make sure that your phone is operating with the latest operating system because they're constantly updates to help keep your phone secure. You want to make sure that you're keeping privacy and security settings on your internet browser updated. So for example, let's say you're using Chrome. Up in the right-hand corner, you're going to see 3 little dots, and you can click on that to see settings. And then you can go into the settings and make sure that all of your privacy and security settings have been updated. Most importantly, never, never, ever grant remote access to your computer. If you get a pop-up message telling you that there's a virus or some sort of issue with your computer, do not click on that message. Do not call the number. What you should do, turn off your computer and disconnect from the internet temporarily. This prevents that hacker from being able to access your computer. Do not respond. If you think there is potentially some sort of virus on your computer, again, reach out to your computer manufacturer, ask what steps you should take, or get help from a service such as Best Buy's Geek Squad to help you figure out how to deal with any sort of virus. But again, do not ever click on any sort of pop-up on your computer alerting you to a problem, because most likely it is going to be a scam. And the scammer's goal is to get you to grant remote access to your computer so that they can gain access to all sorts of your information. Another thing that's really important to do to minimize your risk is to set up online access to all of your accounts. Now, most of you have probably have done this, but for those of you who consider it to be risky to have online access to your accounts, I want you to know this. Your information is out there already. For example, your credit union is not keeping all of your account information on a piece of paper in a filing drawer in an office. That information is online. And the reason you want to have online access to all of your accounts is so that you can log on and check whenever you want, rather than waiting until the end of the month to get an account statement to make sure everything is okay. That online access is really one of the best ways for you to keep tabs on your accounts. Now, when you set up that online access, you want to make sure that you are using strong passwords that are at least 12 characters long. They have upper and lowercase letters and numbers and symbols. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is not a good password. And some of you might be laughing about this, but this is still the most commonly used password in the world. Hackers know this. Also, the word password, if you're using your name or if you're using your favorite sport, if you're using your birthday, this is information that people can get. And so you want to make it difficult for anyone to gain access to your online accounts. And that's why you need to use a strong password with those upper and lowercase letters, the numbers, the symbols. You want to use a different password for every account, because if a hacker gets access to one of your accounts and you're using the same password for every account, then they can get access to every account you have and wipe you out entirely. What you can do is use a password manager to create these hard to crack passwords and securely store those passwords for you. Now, what you have to do is make sure that you hang on to your username and password for that password manager so you can access it. Careful does include in its Vault feature a password manager to help you create and store passwords. And so this is something to consider. If you don't feel comfortable using a password manager, if you're going to write down your usernames and passwords, don't keep them on a sticky note on your computer or in your wallet. You want to keep them somewhere safe, out of reach, especially if you've got people coming in and out of your house. Another thing that's really important to do to minimize your risk is, in addition to having a username and password for your online accounts, you want to make sure you're opting in to using multi-factor authentication. This is a security feature that requires you to provide identity verification in addition to your password. This can be a code that you get that is sent by text message when you're logging into your accounts. So I've got an example here. This is actually an MFA text message that I got from Fidelity. I have a brokerage account with Fidelity Investments, and so I log into my Fidelity account. I enter my username and password, and then I get sent a text message with a one-time code that I have to enter to gain access to my account. And this is really important to know. Your financial institution will never call you and ask for that MFA code. This is a tactic that scammers use. In fact, Fidelity goes so far as to say, if anyone's asking for this code, stop. It's a scam. Scammers might know that you've been told not to provide this information. They might have an excuse for you. They've got you on the phone. They're telling you that there has been some sort of suspicious activity in your account. They're going to ask you to log into your account. And at the same time, they're logging in and they're going to say, hey, we've just sent you a code. I know it says don't ever share it, but you can trust us. This is the security department at your credit union. Please share that number with us now. Okay, do not. This is a scam. Don't ever, ever share that number, no matter what story you're being told. When you are using email, you need to check the email addresses to make sure that it matches the company or organization or even government agency that's supposedly sending the email. Anytime you get any sort of unsolicited email, you should be doing this. So if you look over here at this example, you can see it's supposedly from PayPal. However, the email address is security@paypat483567.com. Okay, this is not from PayPal. You want to look for generic greetings like this one. Hello, dear customer. Now, this is not always a giveaway, because if there's been a data breach, then scammers know that you are a customer of a company. So for example, let's take that Change Healthcare data breach. You get an email that's supposedly from Change Healthcare. They have your name. The scammers have your name because there's a data breach. And so it might say, Dear Cameron Huddleston, we're writing to inform you that there has been a data breach. Okay, so you need to know that a generic greeting isn't always a giveaway. Scammers can have your name. But if you see that generic greeting, then that's a red flag right there. You know that this is an email from a scam, because a company where you are a customer is going to have your name. You want to be wary of any sort of urgent requests like this one. We noticed a successful sign into your PayPal account from an unrecognized device in Bogota, Colombia. And you're thinking, well, I live in the United States of America. Surely this is someone is accessing my account from another country. I'm scared. I need to take action. So what do? I'm going to click on this link that PayPal sent me. Well, that's what scammers want you to think. They want you to be afraid, and they want you to click on that link or that download to take action to remedy the problem. Another thing that you can look for are spelling, grammar, punctuation mistakes. Again, this is not as common anymore thanks to AI. Scammers can use AI to create really well-written emails and text messages. So it used to be that you could get an email and know right away that it was a scam because there were all sorts of misspellings. The wording didn't make sense. There were grammatical errors. This is not as common anymore, but certainly if you do see spelling errors and punctuation mistakes, then that's going to be a big red flag that that email that you got is a scam. And so for those of you who are thinking, okay, how do I know if that email that's from a company that I do business with is legitimate or it's a scam? Well, for starters, if you are interacting with that company, let's say you just went online and purchased something from J.Crew. You get an email from J.Crew saying, thank you for your order, and there's your order number. Okay. You've just interacted with that company. That email that you received is most likely legitimate. Then you get another email a few days later saying your items have shipped. It will include your order number. There might be a link to UPS, FedEx, or USPS tracking. Now, if you do click on that link to track your package, you should not be asked to provide any additional information. If you're being asked to provide any additional information like your account number, your username, your password, a credit card, or any sort of payment, then that's a scam. And so if it's an unsolicited email, you should be looking for these signs. If you have been interacting with that company or organization and you're receiving an email, then most likely it is a legitimate email, but still look to make sure that the email address matches the name of the company that's sending it. If you click on a link, but you're being asked to provide some sort of personal information or a payment, don't do it. Instead, go directly to the source. Call your credit union and make sure that it was trying to reach out to you about suspicious activity. Log into that PayPal account to see if there's an issue. Go directly to the company, the business, the organization to find out if it was trying to contact you, if there's any doubt in your mind. When you are shopping online, the best way to stay safe is to stick with online retailers that you know and trust. Do not click on ads or sponsored results. And by sponsored results, I mean if you go to Google and you type in hotels in Florida, typically at the top of the search results, you will see something that is highlighted as sponsored results, and it might say Florida hotel deals. Scammers use these sponsored results to create ads for products and services and companies, and it will potentially lead you to a fake site that's going to steal your credit card information or your personal information. So don't click on that sponsored result. Like it might even look like it's a sponsored result for the hotel chain you're looking for. Scroll down the page and look for, like, let's say you're looking for Hilton. You might see a sponsored result with Hilton. I always scroll down a little bit and look for another link to Hilton, for example. Don't click on those ads. Again, they could take you to a fake site. If you see a deal or a product on a site that you're not familiar with, before shopping on that site, I recommend that you read reviews and search for complaints about that site. Just simply go to Google and type in the name of the company and type in the word complaints, or type in the word reviews, or type in the word scam. And you want to look for reviews that are not posted on the company's site. You want to look for an independent site, or you can go to the Better Business Bureau site and look for reviews of that company and look for any complaints about that company. And finally, look to make sure that that website is secure. You can look for the HTTPS. You want to make sure there's that S, which indicates that the site is secure. You want to look for the padlock symbol, but that's not always a giveaway if those two things are there, because scammers are creating fake sites with the HTTPS and with a copy of that padlock symbol. So what you also want to do is check the domain name. So if you look over here at this example for PayPal, the real one at the top, the domain name, it says paypal.com. On the right, it says pay-pal.com. Okay, so you might think that you're on Amazon, but maybe there's an extra O, AMAZOON, or you've ended up on AmazonDeals.com, or you think that you're shopping on a Nike factory outlet store, but if you're checking the domain name, you might see that it says bigshoedeals.com. You are not on the Nike factory outlet store site. Make sure that the domain name matches the site that you think that you're on, and make sure that the spelling is correct. You also want to be aware of URLs that end with shop, VIP, link. If it doesn't end with a traditional .com, or if it's a .org for a charitable organization, .net. If it's a US government site, it needs to end with .gov. Like government sites, US government sites only end in .gov. Okay, if you're seeing something else that looks different, then you should question the site that you're on. Another thing to remember is that if you are shopping online, always pay with a credit card. You get more protections with a credit card than a debit card. And if a scammer gets access to your credit card number, the money is going to come out of your checking account. And even if you report it immediately, sometimes it can take a few days for that money to be posted back to your account. And if you've got bills that are being automatically deducted, then the money might not be there to cover your bills. So always pay with a credit card when shopping online. And lastly, when you are on social media, one of the best things you can do to protect yourself is adjust your privacy settings and limit who can see your posts. This, for example, is Facebook's privacy settings. So you can go into your settings. If you're on Facebook, you can click on, in the right corner, there's a little picture of your face or whatever image that you're using for your Facebook profile. You can click on that. That'll give you access to your settings, and you want to go in there and manage who can see what you're sharing. You're best off limiting it to your friends. You don't want the whole world to see what you're sharing on Facebook. And the reason I say that is because scammers are on social media sites looking for information about people. So not only do you want to limit who's seeing this information, you want to be careful about what sort of information you're sharing. I know we all love to get happy birthday wishes, but if you've got your birthday listed in your about section on Facebook, then scammers are going to know when your birthday is, and that can be valuable information for them. If you're sharing your children's names, if you're sharing your pets' names, if you're taking those quizzes about your favorite type of music or all the places that you visited, scammers can use that information. It might be information that they can use to guess your security questions. They can use it to try to establish a connection with you if they want to strike up a romance online, or maybe they want to invite you to their investing club because they know that you're really into the stock market. When you are on social media, do not click on ads or posts for products. If you see a great deal advertised for your favorite retailer, go to the retailer site and see if you can find the deal there. It could be a legitimate ad, it could be a legitimate post, but you're safer not clicking on that ad on social media. Better to go directly to the source to see if you can find the deal or the product. And finally, you want to be wary of strangers who are contacting you with friend requests or any sort of special offer or a donation request. If you don't know the person, if you've never met them, don't agree to be their friend on social media. Don't accept their special offers to join their investing club or to participate in some sort of free giveaway. Don't donate to anyone you don't know. These are some of the safest ways to stay safe when you are on social media. Now, of course, taking all of those steps is going to go a long way toward protecting you, but you should always be on the lookout for signs of fraud and identity theft. And this means checking your financial accounts regularly. You don't want to wait for those monthly statements. Of course, you can set up transaction alerts on your financial accounts and be notified anytime there's any sort of transaction on your account. You should be checking your credit reports, and you can do this for free at annualcreditreport.com. And when you get that report, you're going to want to look to see if there are any sort of loans or lines of credit that you don't recognize. This could be a sign that someone has stolen your identity and used it to open fraudulent accounts. It's also a good idea to sign up for credit and identity monitoring. Credit monitoring is going to be keeping a constant watch on your credit reports and alerting you anytime there's any sort of change to your credit report. Identity monitoring is going to be searching the internet and the dark web, that back room of the internet where shady deals go on. It's going to be looking there to see if your information is being sold and bought, and it's going to alert you anytime there is some sort of misuse of your personal information. It's also a good idea to be monitoring your mail. Of course, you monitor your mail. You're going to look at what's coming in, looking at your bills, tossing away those, solicitations. But if you're getting any sort of unusual bill for an account that you didn't open, or if you're getting a collection notice for debt that that you don't have, don't assume that this is a mistake. You need to investigate it. You need to reach out to the company that sent you that bill. And I would recommend not calling any sort of number that's listed there, but calling the company directly and saying, hey, I got this bill for an account, but I've never opened an account there. This could be a sign that you are a victim of identity theft. And again, someone has opened an account in your name. You want to check your health insurance statements that you get. I know a lot of times we just toss them in the trash. Review those statements to make sure that there aren't any services that you're being charged for that you didn't receive, or perhaps there's a denial of coverage for reaching your benefit limits, but you know that you haven't seen the doctor more than once during the year. That could be a sign that someone has stolen your insurance information and is using it to get health coverage. And so do pay attention to those insurance statements that you get. You also want to stay alert to any sort of notices that you get about unfamiliar account login attempts. Now, this is a tactic that scammers will use. They will send emails, text messages, trying to scare you into thinking that your account has been compromised. But if you do get a notice like this, I encourage you to log onto your account directly to make sure everything is okay. Contact your account provider and ask them, hey, have there been any login attempts recently on my account? Has anyone attempted to change the password? Go directly to the source to find out if there is an issue. But it's important not to just ignore these notices, because in case something is happening, you want to stop the hackers from accessing your accounts. I want to talk a little bit now about how Careful can help you stay safe. You can link Careful to your checking and savings accounts, your investment accounts, your credit card accounts, and you can get 24/7 monitoring for unusual transactions, signs of fraud, even money mistakes. And you're going to get alerts when Careful detects changes in your behavior. So let's say that you never make payments with a payment app, but now you've made a payment through Zelle. So you might get an alert from Careful saying, hey, we've noticed that you are using a payment app for the first time. Just want to make sure everything's okay. Or for example, if there is a check that's cashed that's a lot larger than the checks you usually write, you're going to get a notice from Careful letting you know that there was a check that was a lot larger, and that could be a sign that you are a victim of check fraud. Maybe you put a check in the mail to send to pay for your utilities. A thief stole that check from your mailbox. You can use chemicals to remove the writing on the check, write a new name for a recipient, write a new amount. They go deposit the check, and now you've had $10,000 taken out of your checking account when you just wrote a check for $100 to pay for your electricity. And so you're going to get alerts for things like that. Careful also includes credit monitoring. Careful includes identity monitoring. It includes home title monitoring. It's going to be checking your home title to make sure there haven't been any changes, because yes, that is another type of scam. Scammers will commit title fraud. They can even go down to clerk's office, change the name of the title. The next thing you know, the house is no longer in your name. And so Careful includes home title monitoring that'll alert you to changes in your home title. If there are any, hopefully they're not. We also have a really cool feature called Scam Check. And so when you log on to your Careful account, you're going to see an option to click on Scam Check. And let's say you got an email that's suspicious. You can upload an image of that email, and Scam Check is going to review it and let you know whether it is likely a scam or not. You can do the same for text messages, or if you've gotten a suspicious phone call, you can type in what you were told in the phone call, and Scam Check's going to let you know whether what that information, whether that call, that text message, that email is likely a scam. We also have data breach protection. And so if we detect that a password to your account has been stolen, or if your information has been compromised in any way, you're going to get a notification from Careful letting you know. And finally, if you do become a victim of fraud or identity theft, the first thing you want to do is report it. If there were fraudulent transactions, you want to report them immediately to your financial institutions to let them know that they were fraudulent so that you can limit your liability. So, for example, if your credit card number is stolen, you have made a purchase on what turned out to be a fake retail site, and then you notice that there's a charge on your credit card account for something that you didn't purchase, you want to call your credit card company right away and say, hey, I just discovered a fraudulent charge on my account. Okay, then you will not be held liable for that charge. It is important to know that if a scammer convinces you to make a payment, in essence, you have authorized that payment. If you have paid, you have given a scammer access to your account, you've given them your credit card number, you've authorized the payment, then that is not considered a fraudulent transaction. And you could be held liable for that transaction even if it was the result of a scam. And so if someone gets your card or your debit card information or gains access to your account and makes transactions without your permission, that is considered fraud. You will not be held liable for that. But if you were talked into a scammer to making a transaction and you authorize that transaction, then technically it is not considered fraud. But that doesn't mean that you should not reach out to your financial institution and let them know that you're a victim of a scam, because you still might not be. That financial institution might not hold you liable for that charge. So report any sort of fraudulent transaction as soon as it happens. You want to report fraud and identity theft to local law enforcement, and the Federal Trade Commission has a website that is identitytheft.gov, which you can go to and report it, and you can get a fraud and identity theft recovery plan. And the reason I say you want to report identity theft and fraud to local law enforcement, it's not that they're necessarily going to be able to catch the bad guys, but you want to have that police report that you can use in case your identity is used to open additional fraudulent accounts. Then you've got that proof that you are a victim of identity theft. And so I do encourage people to report to local law enforcement and get a copy of the police report and hang on to it. If any sort of your government benefits have been compromised, if someone is using your Medicare information to get health care coverage, if your Social Security number has been compromised, if you are a victim of any sort of tax fraud, someone filed a tax return using your Social Security number to collect a refund, you want to contact the appropriate government agency, whether it's the IRS, Medicare, Social Security Administration. You want to do this as soon as possible too, to alert them to any sort of fraud. The next thing you want to do is secure your accounts. If you have a credit card or debit card that has been compromised, call and cancel those cards. If you have an account, an online account that has been compromised, you want to immediately go in and change your passwords for those accounts. And if you're using the same password for multiple accounts, then change your password for all of your accounts. Another thing that you can do, and you don't have to wait until you're a victim to do this, is to place a security freeze on your credit reports at all 3 of the credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. And you need to do this at each of the credit bureaus. If you do it at one, it doesn't transfer to the others. And so you can call them or log on. It's pretty easy to find out how to place a security freeze. You can place this freeze, and what it does is it prevents people from opening new accounts in your name, because creditors have to pull your credit report before they can issue a line of credit. And so if they can't access your credit report, they're not going to issue that line of credit. You can lift a security freeze anytime you want. There's no charge to place a freeze. There's no charge to lift one. You just want to hang on to the passwords that you've created at the credit bureaus for your freeze. So if you need to apply for a loan or a credit card, you can go in and lift the freeze. And as I said, this is something that you can do now. You don't need to wait until you're a victim. Do it now as a preventive measure. If there has been any sort of damage, you want to repair that damage. You want to contact companies if fraudulent accounts have been opened in your name to have those accounts closed. You want to ask them to remove any fraudulent transactions from your account. And you want to contact the credit bureaus to have them remove fraudulent accounts from your credit reports so that your credit score is not impacted by those fraudulent accounts or fraudulent transactions. Just again, as a final reminder, anytime you're getting any sort of unsolicited communication, you should be wary. An email, and I know we're focusing online, but an email, a phone call, a text message, if it's unsolicited, be wary. It could be a scammer. Verify the identity of anyone who's asking for money or personal information. And one way you can do that is by going directly to the source. Like I've said, if someone is claiming to be from your financial institution, call the financial institution directly. And never rush into making any sort of payment. Take a breath, take a step away, get a second opinion, contact your credit union, contact a friend, contact law enforcement. Scammers want you to be scared. They want you to act without thinking. They want you to make that payment or hand over your personal information without thinking. And so if you're being asked to make a payment or provide your information, ask yourself, okay, is there anything suspicious about this? And if it is, don't make that payment. Don't hand over your personal information. Get a second opinion before you act. And of course, you can always reach out to Careful. We have care agents who are here in the United States who can answer your questions, who can help you determine whether something is a scam, whether it's suspicious, or if there's been fraud on your account. They can help walk you through the steps that you need to take to repair the damage. And that's all for me.
Thank you,
Any
Cameron.
questions? I know it was a
excellent.
lot. It was a whole lot. Feel
No,
free
it
to
was
share
great.
those slides.
It was wonderful. Appreciate that. So we have a couple questions. So Cameron or Rachel as well from Careful. I mean, I could answer this one, but I'll let you guys answer this. Some of the questions we're getting, of course, this was a big part of our due diligence. People are concerned about sharing financial accounts with Careful. Certainly, I can tell our members we did all our due diligence, and Careful is highly secure. They have the highest audit standards, all those things. But I will let Careful reps give you some more details on that. So I don't know if Rachel or Cameron, you want to share an answer to that question.
Sure, and Rachel can talk too. But as a financial journalist, I am so suspect of everything. always. Like if I get a text message from my credit card company that said that there's fraud on my account, or did you make this transaction? Click yes or no. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to call the credit card company. And so, of course, there are a lot of apps I won't even use because I get worried about sharing my information. But having worked closely with the engineering team at Careful, I know how secure it is. We use third-party providers. And so when you're connecting your financial accounts to Careful, we're not seeing your username and password. It's not being stored anywhere. And so it is about as safe as it can be, like military grade encryption. We do not see your information. We cannot access your accounts in any way. And Rachel, if you want to add something too.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, when you're connecting those accounts, we are actually never asking for you to share those financial account numbers with us either. You're going to be connecting those with your online banking credentials. So that's going to be what you use to log in for that Discover Card website, what you use to log in on that Wells Fargo website. Once you connect those, you're doing that through Plaid, which is a service that's used and trusted by banks, credit unions, and credit card companies across the entire US. And you link that bank account one time. And that is the only time that we're going to be asking you to input that username and password and transmit it across our systems. We do not store it after the fact. So in addition to that, like Cameron mentioned, we have that military grade encryption across our entire system and additional two-factor authentication when logging into the Careful platform, and another layer of that on top of Careful's Vault, where you can store those passwords, important contacts, and documents. I do see that there is another question about picking and choosing what you can sign up for. So on that same topic, if you aren't comfortable adding those financial accounts right up front, maybe you want to add some of Careful's other protections, see what we're all about, and then get comfortable with the platform, you can pick and choose exactly what you choose to monitor with Careful. There is no rule that you have to come in and add everything all at once. You can sign up for the platform, get that $1 million of identity theft insurance, add credit monitoring, add home title monitoring, anything else that you would like to have set up. And then maybe in a week or two, you feel more comfortable adding those financial accounts. You can always come back in, add additional accounts, bank accounts, credit card accounts, credit union accounts at any point in time while you have the platform.
Yeah, and just, Rachel, to that point, to all the members out there, obviously the credit union made this a complimentary service, but it's also optional. So it is up to you, what you want to use and to what degree you want to use it. I mean, I will share, we're seeing a lot of great stories from the membership about how Careful has protected them. But certainly if you're uncomfortable, it's totally up to you. And you could start out with one account, two accounts, and then, decide what you want to do as you get more comfortable. I don't want to scare people, but I would also say a lot of your information, if you're doing business, right, we're all putting our information out there. It's the world we're in today. So our job at the credit union was to do our due diligence on Careful and make sure they were up to our standards for security. You bank with one of the safest credit unions in the country. We just are excellent at fraud prevention and protection. And so we would certainly not bring anything to market that we were concerned about. But as you guys know, you read the stories, the Federal Reserve was hacked in 2024, right? Some of the largest organizations in the world have run into problems. So nothing could ever be said in this world today that we're at 100%. That's why I think one of the best things Cameron said, and we tell our members this all the time, the best thing you do is make sure you check in your accounts frequently. We have run into members who take pride in saying, well, I only log on once a month. Once a month is not enough. You really need to log on more than that so you can see if there's any unauthorized activity happening. And if you don't want to do that, that's why we were excited about Careful. They will alert you when there's activity on your account. The sooner we know about bad activity on your account, the quicker we can work to try to get your money back. And as Cameron noted, in some cases you just can't, right? There's times, there's situations where we cannot get those funds back. But a lot of times, if we know early enough, we can. So the account monitoring, to me, if you get anything out of this, to me, it's the most important thing based on what we see at the credit union here every day. So those were great questions. Rachel, thanks for the answer. Cameron, thanks for the answer. Do we have any other questions? Let's see. I'm not seeing any, but I had a couple for you, Cameron. So you went through sort of the big ones, right? The romance scam. I think the computer security one's a big one, right? We see that where people get an alert, your system's been compromised, click here, what have you. Also, you know, people get social engineered to give out information. So when you talk about that, social engineering, what would you say is some good advice for the members? If somebody's trying to get close to you and they're trying to get that information from you, you know, how do you make sure your radar goes up and say, boy, this is not something I should do? Because a lot of our members get embarrassed that they gave out information. And what we always tell them is the scammers are very, very good at getting your information. So, any advice on social engineering to keep people safe?
Sure, you're right. Scammers are incredibly good at what they do. This is essentially their job: to email, to call, to text people, to get them into perhaps a state of panic, to create a sense of urgency, or in some cases, they're not creating a sense of panic, they're trying to create a relationship. And romance scams truly are the worst of all. They can start on online dating sites. They can start on social media. You get a message, someone commenting about your cute cat, and they love cats too. And then they keep messaging and they get friendlier and friendlier. And before you know it, they are professing their love for you and they're asking to take the conversation off Facebook. They want to message you directly. And they are claiming that they are living or working overseas. So that gives them an excuse not to meet in person. You might make plans to meet in person, but then they're going to come with up with an excuse not to meet. And then eventually there's going to be a request for money. Maybe there's some sort of medical emergency. Maybe there is, they've got a business and they got taxes and fees they have to pay overseas to keep their business afloat. They're a doctor working overseas and they need money to come visit you. I mean, but come on, if you're a doctor, you probably have the money to buy a plane ticket. And so they're going to come up with some sort of story to ask for money. And if you give money, they're going to ask for more and more and more. And these people are so good. They are coached on how to manipulate your emotions. And so anytime you have met someone online and they're trying to escalate the relationship quickly and they're making excuses not to meet in person and they're asking for money, the answer is no. The answer is 100% no. If you have not met a person in person, you don't ever want to give money, okay? You do not need to feel embarrassed if this person has convinced you that they are in love with you, okay? That's a human emotion. There's nothing wrong with that. And these people often say all the right things. But never give money to someone you haven't met in person. You know, and they can also do this too. You get a phone call that is supposedly from Merck Credit Union. And the person is saying, hey, this is Jim at your local branch. We're noticing some unusual activity on your account. But we think this is a bigger problem. And we need you to, we're working with the FBI on this. So I'm going to connect you with this FBI agent. And so then you're transferred to someone who's an FBI agent. And the next thing they know, this person is telling you that your identity has been stolen. It's been used by a drug cartel in Mexico. And all of these crimes are linked to your name. And we need you to take all of your money out of your account for safekeeping. We're going to hold it for you. So you're going to go to this Bitcoin ATM and you're going to transfer your money to us. Or you're going to put it in a shoebox and we're going to send a courier over to pick it up. Or you're going to buy gold bars and you're going to give it to us. They want to get you scared. They're going to use the name of a government agency to establish trust. They might even give you a badge number. They might even use the name of a real agent, okay? This is a scam. This is a scam. If you are getting a call, an email, any sort of message out of the blue, you hang up. Merck Credit Union is not going to be upset if they're really calling you and hanging up. If you call your branch or you go into your local branch and say, hey, were you reaching me about suspicious activity on the account? I just got a call. They're not going to be upset with you. They're going to say, good for you. You hung up. You stop a scammer in his tracks, okay? A legitimate organization is not going to be upset. Government agencies do not threaten people. So keep this in mind. And again, I was focusing today on how to stay safe online because there's so many ways that scammers can reach you online. But like I said at the beginning, phone call is still a common way that scammers reach you. I can always come back and talk about more types of scams, but today we were focusing on how to stay safe online.
Yeah. Hey, one other one, Cameron. So I was looking at our recent stats where it shows how many people sign up for Careful from the credit union. It's great, great numbers. We also have a number of members that have designated trusted contacts. I think that's a really important thing because it helps us have another person to verify with if there's issues, etc. Can you talk a little bit about trusted contacts and do you guys recommend them and what's the importance of trusted contacts?
Careful's trusted contact feature allows you to name a person or more than one person to be what we call your trusted contact. They at most get view only access to accounts that are being monitored, but you can give them access only to alerts that you're receiving if you want, or maybe you only want to give access to your estate planning documents that you've stored in Careful's vault. You get to choose what sort of access they get. I was a caregiver for my mother for more than 12 years. She had Alzheimer's disease. Having a second set of eyes on your finances is always a smart move. And that doesn't mean if you have dementia, all of us can use a second set of eyes. I have a bank account that I use. My husband has a bank account that he uses. Both of those are being monitored by Careful. I'm not necessarily in his all the time. I get an alert about his saying, hey, you've got a bill that might be late. And so then I'm calling my husband and saying, hey, did you pay this bill? And so, I use Careful in that way. It's always good to have a second set of eyes, especially as we age, having that trusted adult child to kind of keep a watchful eye to make sure that someone hasn't used social engineering to convince you to go to Target and buy $500 worth of credit cards. Any of us can be scammed. Any of us. I have come close to being scammed before. Okay. And so having that second set of eyes is a good idea. I do see someone asking about credit and debit card skimmers. Are there a way to spot them? Here's what you need to know. They're less likely to be in a store. They're more likely to be at a gas station or someplace that's outside where there's less monitoring. And so you want to look for signs that it's been tampered. Again, this is why you want to use a credit card instead of a debit card. I always use my credit card when I am at the gas station. If you can tap instead of inserting, that's a safer way to go about it. So tap your card whenever you can instead of inserting it. Inserting is still safer than swiping. So insert when you can instead of swiping. I know we're out of time, so that was a quick answer.
Yeah. That's fantastic. And Cameron, just one thing on that. A lot of our members, and I use this all the time myself, use the digital wallet where you can use your credit card, you can put it in your phone, and you could check out that way. That is very safe and secure. It's tokenization, so you rarely have fraud there. We rarely see any fraud when you use your digital wallet. So that's another great thing you could do. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much. If there's any other questions after the fact, we're going to respond to you via email to our great members. So please feel free to ask any questions and we'll get back to you on those. Cameron, as they're going to be a copy of this webinar that you can get me so we can put it on our credit union website.
Sure. I can send you the document.
Okay. So we'll certainly post that. And I think this went so well, Cameron. We're probably going to invite you back for another one. So
Great.
That's the problem with doing a good job, right? You're in demand. So thank you again for your great work. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Take care to all the members. Stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye. Make sure you have those questions.